Hello and welcome to Stretford Paddock. My name is Joe and this is the news on Friday the 23rd of September. We're going to be looking at this new dividend that the Glazers have taken out of Manchester United. Shock, horror, surprise, surprise. We'll also be looking at the financial, basically the full financial report from the last 12 months. United in more debt than before, still dishing out dividends, taking out dividends on years where we lose hundreds of millions of pounds. We'll go through some of that. Interest costs gone up, more money put into the total interest that the club has paid under the Glazers. We'll go into all of that. We'll also be looking at Harry Maguire, who's been a massive hot topic over the last few days. Gareth Southgate has come out and spoken in favour of Harry Maguire. In I would say a verbalised echoing of the sentiment that got Ole Gunnar Solskjaer sacked at Manchester United, and we'll get into that in a minute, and whether Southgate is doing the right thing by keeping his faith in someone that who has been, let's be honest, largely very good for England in Harry Maguire. But we'll get to that in just a minute. Obviously, not particularly bothered about the England angle, but it's worth mentioning this sort of ongoing storm around Manchester United's captain and England stalwart Harry Maguire. Get your thoughts in the comments. Get your thoughts on these dividends. That there is the total number of dividends that they have taken out of the club since 2015. A further £30 million dividend was taken out in the last 12 months, which has been revealed in recent hours due to the end of United's financial report. Kieran Maguire, who we've had on the channel a number of times, who is the writer of The Price of Football, an author who, he's got a podcast as well called The Price of Football, who is a very well-written, well-versed football financial analyst, has basically dissected a lot of what is going on at Manchester United and how the last sort of 12 months have been for United financially. So United paid out a £34 million dividend in 2022, which is over triple the amount that was paid in 2021 in dividends. It's the single highest dividend paid by Manchester United to their owners since 2014. I think in 2010 or 2011, the first year they ever did dividends, there was a lump sum of around 100 million or so. But since then, it's been ticking over at around 20 to 23 million pounds per year. And again, this year it's £34 million, despite operating profits being down. The United's borrowings from 2014 have risen from 342 million gross debt. It is now up to 636 million pounds of gross debt. United's operating profit or loss, which in 2014 was 68 million profit, 2015 32 million profit, 69 million profit, 81 million profit, 44 million profit, and 50 million profit, leading up to 2019, is now down to an operating loss of 87 million pounds. To be honest, all of the numbers you want to see going up are going down at the moment for Manchester United. It is, the borrowings are up, the debt is up, the dividends are up, and the overall profits are down to the point where we are losing money. It's also revealed that United spent £14.7 million to sack Ralph Rangnick, which is an astonishing amount of money when you consider he was only meant to be an advisor anyway. How have we got ourselves in a position where it costs us £14 million to sack a man that was a part-time employee? 14 million quid, which over the 2 years he was meant to be this advisor. So what's that, 100 weeks? He's basically being paid £1 million a year. Is that right? No, that's not right. 7 million quid a year. So 7 divided by 52, 130 grand a week to be an advisor for Manchester United, that we've had to presumably pay out his contract or pay him some sort of money, reward money for basically being sacked, whatever the word is. Put that down as exceptional items, apparently. So yeah, to get rid of Ralph Rangnick on that 2-year consultation contract, it's cost Manchester United £14.7 million. It also cost us another 11 million to sack Ole Gunnar Solskjaer earlier in the year, or late at the end of 2021. Obviously, that goes on the next financial year. So there you go. United spent £25 million sacking people in the last year. United have recorded the third highest ever pre-tax losses in Premier League history at £149 million, only beaten by City in 2010-11 when they were obviously spending loads of money and not making any yet, when they recorded pre-tax losses of 197 million. Chelsea last year, during COVID, of course, recorded pre-tax losses of 155 million. They also spent 250 million pounds in the transfer window that summer, having had a year off of transfers, or a year unable to register players because of their transfer ban. So they were basically doubling down on money spent the year after because they'd saved money the year before due to the ban. United don't have any of those excuses. United aren't a new club like City basically are. And United don't have the excuse of spending extra money because of the transfer ban and coming out the back of COVID, because we've had players, people in the stadium for the entirety of the last 12 months. So, United are just basically losing 150 million quid for a laugh at this point. There's no real rhyme or reason to it. We're just badly run and we're spending too much money. United have got the highest wage bill in the Premier League. I think we're spending around £480 million a year on wages, or £380 million a year. Let me double check that, because obviously I don't want to get that wrong. But yeah, essentially, Man United wage bill. Sorry to have to Google that, but I don't want to get that wrong after, if we're going to be reporting it. Yeah, wage bill of an estimated £384 million. And it's an average wage, so Manchester United's average player gets paid £178,000 a week. So you play for Man United, the odds are you're getting paid around 178 grand a week on average, which for a team that's won 0 trophies in 5 years doesn't sound particularly wise, if you ask me. Exciting. Ralph Rangnick basically got paid 16 million quid a year. Yeah, because he got paid, what did he do? Six months up front that he worked, and then you get paid for your 2 years that we don't even want you. That is unbelievable, isn't it? The Ralph Rangnick era cost Manchester United around £20 million, according to these numbers by Kieran Maguire here. I mean, 6 months, 20 million quid, or 14 million quid. That's basically paying him about 700 grand a week for the work he did at United. Good stuff. So United are well ran. United's owners are taking more money out. The leeches that are sucking the blood out of Manchester United continue to do so. I mean, I'm saying it with a hint of not disbelief, but just a sad kind of realization that this is who United are, isn't it? Like, we can sit here and get frustrated and annoyed, and it is frustrating and it is annoying. But we can't sit here and be shocked. You can't pretend that we didn't see this coming. Oh, the debt's gone up and they've taken more money out. Yeah, of course they have. That is literally the trend of the last 15 years. All we can do is keep protesting, keep pushing any way we can. Any cause, any support you can give to anyone trying to get the Glazers out of the club, we're here to do so. And we'll continue to do so for as long as we possibly can, assuming that the alternative is better, which it seems as though most alternatives would be better than the Glazers, obviously. But yeah, there you go. Manchester United, big debt, spending loads of money, not making much money, and the owners are still taking money out. Now, something I want to just look into. Obviously, you can almost suspend sort of financial definitions when it comes to the billionaires. So one thing I'll look into is a dividend. The definition of a dividend is a sum of money paid regularly, typically annually, by a company to its shareholders out of its profits. Out of its profits. That is what a dividend is. How on earth have the Manchester United owners taken a £31 million dividend out of the profits when Manchester United have lost £100 million or £89 million in the last 12 months? What profits are we digging into there? This is the thing I don't get. Not only is it a disgrace that money profitable money that is made by the Manchester United Football Club, which basically the money comes from fans, sponsorships, and TV broadcasting rights. None of it comes from these people here. The fact that that money goes to them anyway is firstly a disgrace. But how on earth can profit and money derived from that profit go to them when we haven't made any profit? Again, it's like every rule, every law you can think of. The concept of a dividend is already a relatively high sort of concept, isn't it? Most people on earth don't own a business. Most people on earth don't own a business that is making profit. So the idea of a dividend is already for the sort of, upper percentage of society. Then the idea of taking a dividend on a company that isn't making profit, you have to be a billionaire to be doing that sort of thing. To be finding the loopholes, to know the ways round, taking money out of what would be, financially speaking, a struggling company. You're still taking 30 million quid pocket money out for yourself at the end of the year. It absolutely doesn't make any sense to me. It makes no sense whatsoever. Damon Maidment says Barcelona made a profit. They're projecting profits of 230 million euros, I think, next summer. They're looking to make 1.2 billion euros in gross income, I believe it is, next year. That's their projections. But again, you have to remember that some of that is because of all of these assets that they've sold. Yes, it's impressive to make a billion euros a year, but you've just sold 50% of Barcelona studios. You've just sold 25% of your TV rights for the next 25 years. If they're not making profit now, when can they make profit? So yeah, it's impressive that they've made that much money, and I'm not even sure United have got a Barcelona studios equivalent, because I'm not entirely sure MUTV is even owned by Manchester United. And if it is, I don't think it's worth what they sold Barcelona Studios for. However, the fact that Barcelona are making all this money isn't necessarily a sign that they're back up and running. It's a sign that their levers that they've pulled at the expense of potentially the future of the club are now being cashed in. So I'm not particularly surprised that they're spending that much money and earning that much money. They took, Steve Hyam says, they took a loan out to pay the dividends. They did. That's how they did it. And for anyone who's sat at home thinking, well, why couldn't I do that? Why, how come I can't take a loan out and pay myself from that loan a low? So here's what happens is, and correct me if I'm wrong. So this is coming from someone that isn't a financial expert, but my understanding of loans, of interest rates and of dividends is a dividend, I believe you pay around 10% tax on. A loan, okay, sorry, just as a correction, MUTV is now owned by Manchester United. Great. A loan, a dividend, sorry, you pay around 10% tax on, which is why owners do it, because it's better than paying it as wages because you pay less tax on it. A loan, the interest is often above 10%. So probably what they've done is they've taken the loan out, put the interest and paid for that interest with the club's money, but then because of the loan, they can now take a dividend out for themselves at a lower rate. So let's just stack more debt on the club and we'll keep our own money. Again, if that's not right, I don't want to get sued, but from looking from the outside in, that would seem to me the only way that you could lose money, take out a loan and still have a dividend. You're probably putting the interest and the money for that loan on the club, and you're taking out the money, the profit that loan provides for yourself. It's great. It's a really great way of fucking over a football club and making money for yourself, basically. So there you go. And if I'm wrong, I'd love to be corrected on that. All I know is financial expert Kieran Maguire says that Manchester United had an operating loss of £150 million before tax last year, which is the third highest in Premier League history. There we go. It's great. Aquila Rossa says, not for billionaires so much, they often credit at rates much higher than the base rates set by reserve banks. We're getting to the point now where we're out of my pay grade in terms of financial numbers here, but there we go. The bigger the load, the smaller the interest, of course. Yeah, because the banks basically value as a customer if you loan £1 billion off them. Anyway, let's move on, because I'm very much stretching my financial knowledge there to the point where basically I'm talking rubbish. Let's move on to Harry Maguire. England manager Gareth Southgate has said he's willing to put his reputation on the line to back Manchester United defender Harry Maguire, but his place in the squad will become complicated if he continues to sit out games at club level. Now, I'm going to read this quote and then I'm going to tie it back into Manchester United. Obviously, Maguire is Man United's club captain, so there will always be a relevance there. But he said, clearly it's not an ideal situation. We're only a few weeks away from pre-season, so physically... we've had a few 90 minutes and that's fine. Gareth Southgate told reporters ahead of England's clash against Italy. Another 7 to 8 weeks, that does start to become more complicated. He's talking about if Maguire is on the bench for Manchester United. But he is an important player for us and it's important to back our best players. Whatever reputation I have, I'm putting it on there. That sounds to me like a verbalised version of what we saw from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer at the end of his time at Manchester United, where he basically went, whatever reputation I have, the job I have at Manchester United, I will lay it on the line for the likes of Maguire, Shaw, Rashford, players that he continued to pick even through terrible form, and eventually not just that, but that was one of the decisions I think that cost him his job at United. And I'm not saying that will be the same with England, because the difference is I don't think we have any decent options to replace Harry Maguire as an England fan. Or if you're Gareth Southgate, other than Tomori, who looks excellent for Milan, but has never really had a run in England, in the England squad or in the England team to bed him into a system. Who are you looking at? Tyrone Mings, Ben White, who plays in a very certain system at Arsenal. Maguire works in that system, but it's interesting to see that Southgate is backing Harry Maguire. And you know what? I think with good reason as well. Harry Maguire has been very good for England. And this thing of like putting pace next to him, which, supposedly a source said close to Harry Maguire about putting pace next to him. He's got pace next to him at England. He's got, Kyle Walker mopping up for him and John Stones. And, he did so very effectively in the Euros. And it helped out defensively. So maybe it'll work. Maybe it will be the saving of Harry Maguire's career, the saving of Gareth Southgate. Because it's weirdly, and I say weirdly, I mean, Gareth Southgate hasn't won many trophies, has he? Let's be honest. Has he won any as a manager? But his tournament finishes for England have been sensational. Is it 2 tournaments, 1 semi-final, 1 final? Getting to a penalty shootout in a final. That is unbelievable. That's as good as any manager for England since the 60s, or better than. So the idea that he's up against it and that he's having to prove himself is slightly odd to me. But he is having to do so, and I think if this fails, this taking this risk on the players like Maguire, Shaw again was picked for England, not bringing up the likes of Jadon Sancho, who's been and Marcus Rashford, who have been 2 of United's best players this season. I think Marcus Rashford up there with Harry Kane as the most productive in terms of goal output English players so far this season. Still not getting a call up for England. It's all very odd. And like Jamie White says here, still going to lose to Wales. I think if we do lose, or England do lose some of those early World Cup games, you might see Southgate crumble. However, if we win, and if it can be the turnaround for someone like Harry Maguire, maybe this World Cup could be the saving of his career for United. I feel like it's the World Cup or nothing at the moment for him. He needs something. He needs something that's going to turn things around. Kyriakos says, Joe, the reason why Southgate is unproven is because of short-termism and the 24/7 news cycle. Nobody has an attention span of more than 5 minutes. Maybe not. But he's been there a long time, hasn't he? But he's done well. He has done well, let's be honest. Right, that's going to be all from me this morning. We'll be back later today with The Brew. Stephen Howson and Jay Motti will be here with a guest as well. So make sure you check out that. Let's see Steve's thoughts on everything going on at Manchester United this week. Like I said before, have a look at Kieran Maguire, at Kieran Maguire on Twitter. We have him on the channel regularly, friend of the show, very informed financial expert that has done a full breakdown on Manchester United's debt, losses, profits, and income for the season. If you want to see the full details of that, make sure you check it out over on his Twitter. Hit subscribe if you haven't already. Make sure you hit subscribe. Hit the notification bell as well, because every time there's breaking news, every time there's a match, watch-alongs, previews, reviews, all your Manchester United news is right here on Stretford Paddock. So hit that notification bell so you see when we go live, when our videos are uploaded before anyone else. Thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you in a bit.